Hello and welcome to We Are the Ville, the Westerville City Schools podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Amato. This podcast is designed to take you behind the scenes to showcase how our schools operate and highlight our amazing programs and students. As the first day of school gets closer, one of the biggest topics of families' minds is transportation. Questions like, when will I know my kid's bus route? What time will the bus arrive? Where is the bus stop? What if my child rides my van? There are some of the most common questions we receive every August. Today, we're sitting down with Randy Snyder, Transportation Coordinator, to help answer those questions, explain how routes are developed, and give families some helpful tips to make the first few days of school go as smoothly as possible. Thanks for joining us today, Randy.
Thank you for having me, Melanie.
Before we jump into transportation questions, tell us a little about yourself and about the role you play at Westerville City Schools.
Well, about me, I'm a graduate of Westerville City Schools, Westerville North. I attended Mark Twain Elementary along with Walnut Springs. My dad, actually, who grew up in the Minerva Park community, and my uncle both attended Westerville High School, now Westerville South High School, and they went to Hanby, as it was a middle school at the time, and also Whittier for elementary. I was in the marching band at Westerville North, and my two children today are in the marching band at their high school. I attended Columbus State Community College, and I started working for Westerville City Schools Transportation in 2002 as a school bus driver, and then was hired as a transportation administrator here at Westerville in the fall of 2004.
That's awesome. Now, while many people think transportation begins on the first day of school, planning actually starts months before students ever step onto a bus, correct?
That is correct. We start our preliminary routing work in late April, early May of the school year prior. And then the entire program, the entire process typically takes 6 to 8 weeks from the end of the current school year to getting our routes ready for both community engagement and community insight, as well as our drivers selecting which routes they're going to drive for the current school year.
Wow. And so it's basically a year-long process. We're finishing one year, going right into the new year. And one of the biggest questions families ask is, how are those bus routes created? And can you walk us through that process?
Yes, foundationally, our routes are created utilizing a GIS mapping system. We create stop boundaries or polygons to where, think of it like a fence. Mm-hmm. If a student resides or is at a place where we're going to transport them to and from, we create those boundaries through polygons. We identify the schools that the route is going to serve, noting the number of students assigned. We also look at historical data and determine on a particular run or route, we may have assigned 62 students, but historically maybe only 45 have ridden that route before. So we take those averages into account as well. And then certainly the timing is probably the most critical, but also the most important part of it, because our time schedule is to ensure that our students get to school on time, but also in the afternoon, it's that their delivery in the afternoon allows that vehicle to get onto the next school.
Yeah, and sometimes I hear from parents we've seen 3 school buses drive by our house, but none of them are for my kid. How do you explain that?
So we serve 16 elementary schools, 5 middle schools, and 3 high schools, and those are just our Westerville City School buildings, as well as 3 career centers and a handful of non-public community charter schools. So our buses, we have vehicles that leave our compound in the morning at about 6 a.m., and there is a vehicle somewhere in the school district on the road until 5:15 at night with someone on board, whether they're coming to or from school, or it's a career center or kindergarten midday or a specialized program, a modified schedule. We are literally on the road all day long. Our department opens at 5 a.m. and we're here until about 5:15, 5:30.
That's crazy. And that doesn't even take into consideration after school activities, with athletic or marching band.
Yeah, our department supports over 2,000 extracurricular and co-curricular field trips in a single year. And that's not the number of buses. That's just the number of requests.
Wow.
So when you think about a Friday night where a high school is going on the road, it's very possible they may be taking up to 10 school buses on one Friday night. That's for one away game. And when Westerville is all away on a Friday night during the school year, we could have on upwards of 30 school buses on the road just to support those field trips. And the majority of school districts in the state of Ohio don't even have that many school buses in their fleet.
Yeah.
Once you get outside of about the top 25 school districts in regards to size, those bus numbers start to drop immensely.
Yeah, I mean, just as a parent, you really only think about your child and their one bus. You never really think about the whole fleet and how many kids are being transported every day, And so, my kid has to walk to a bus stop, but they walk only about 4 houses down the street. Some may walk farther. Some may have their bus stop right at their driveway. How is that determined?
So those are determined by several factors. Road speed limits, neighborhoods in particular, when we talk about neighborhoods that have sidewalks and do not. Sidewalks are not a requirement for school bus stop locations, nor are they required when we take into consideration what we consider our non-transportation boundaries, where ultimately school transportation via yellow bus isn't offered. And then it's up to the individual family to determine how their students are going to get to school. But those stops are oftentimes, state law requires transportation to be provided to any student who lives greater than 2 miles from their school of attendance. And those bus stops, by state law, can be up to a half a mile from the student's home. So imagine, if you will, when we create and place our bus stops, we try to maximize that distance, and that can be up to a half a mile in both directions.
Okay.
So in theory, that half a mile bus stop can cover almost a stretch of a mile of roadway, but that has to span out almost like a spider web to create that. In Ohio, also, state law requires for transportation to only be provided to students in grades K through 8, while Westerville offers transportation to grades K through 12, meaning that we're exceeding the state requirements. It's also important to note that our school district and community offers transportation services for many students who live within a mile to up to 2 miles, where again, that state requirement says anybody within 2 miles, regardless of circumstances, is not required to be provided transportation. So that's where we're able to support our community, and through their support of us, we're able to offer that.
Yeah, and I know last year my daughter went to Genoa, and her pickup time was at, I think, around 7:45. Then it switched halfway through towards the end of the year, where it went to 7:35. How are those students' bus pickup time, drop-off times change from year to year, and why?
You mentioned a good one from last year. I know that specific circumstance. It was because a school bus population continued to grow over the school year, and we needed to provide some relief to another route. So those times were adjusted not only by the bus number, but also by the stop time itself.
Yeah.
So even throughout the school year, we're making not as significant or major changes system-wide, but we are certainly evaluating and reevaluating our routes, both for our school buses and our My Vans throughout the year, to ensure that we're providing the most efficient and safe transportation that we can. And we do see that throughout the school year, where we're adding or subtracting students, and also based on ridership. Our ridership at the high school level starts to increase as we enter in the winter months, because our after-school activities decrease with the number of students who are participating.
So how early should students arrive at their bus stop? Should they be 10 minutes early? Or, like sometimes my daughter, she waits until she sees the bus down the street and then starts running to her stop.
To ensure, that's definitely not the way. To ensure students are ready to board the school bus safely, we request that they arrive at their designated place of safety no later than 5 minutes before their boarding time. This doesn't mean that our drivers are going to run their routes consistently 5 minutes ahead, but they may get an extra green light or two, or a traffic pattern just may be lighter on a particular day for whatever the reason, like on Fridays. Sometimes we see less traffic on the road on Fridays depending on work schedules. But also what's important to remember, and this would almost be my plea to our community, the stop sign on a school bus, stop means stop. When our students are boarding and exiting our buses, that is one of the most significant moments in their daily transportation that can put safety in question. Across Ohio and across the nation, we've seen a significant increase in what we call red light violations. And what's even more concerning, and folks can look this up on YouTube, there are videos where people are passing school buses on the right side on sidewalks and in curbs and off roadways and up through people's yards because they're in such a hurry. And the average bus stop takes about a minute to a minute and a half. That's, again, where my plea would be to our community members. Help keep all of our students safe, regardless of where they are. Stop means stop.
Yeah, that's great advice. And of course, not every student rides a traditional school bus. Can you explain what the My Van program is?
The My Van program is something, honestly, that's near and dear to our team's heart. Back in 2018, in the winter of 2018, the team started asking a question. We continue to see an increase in students with specialized transportation needs, and those needs are as various as the colors in the rainbow. And the reason that they really looked at that and started asking three questions: can we do it as good, if not better? Can we do it at a same or less cost? And how can we make the students in that program ours? We have a great working relationship with a transportation partner in Westerville in the area, and we have worked with them since the 90s. And they have continued to provide a great transportation experience for our students. But back to those three questions: can we do it as good, if not better? Save money and make them our own. And that's where the My Van program came from. It was the My Van, the heart on the side of the van is to signify ownership. This is my van. This is my driver. These are my friends on the van, in the van with me that go to and from school. The My Van program started in 2018. We're still running today, and a number of our drivers started with us in 2018 are still with us today. One of the other things that I take great pride in with the My Van program is the relationships that the drivers are able to build with their students and with their families, and recognizing that a My Van driver throughout the course of an entire day may only transport 7 or 8 students. They really become part of a family, and that's a great testament to our drivers behind the wheel.
Yeah, my son rides the My Van program. Shout out to Miss Katie and Miss Kelly. They have been, like you said, exactly part of the family. To this day, we still invite Miss Katie over for dinner every couple months just to check base with her, because my son loves her so much. So I'm really thankful for the My Van program because it gave my son the confidence to ride a different transportation when he needs a little extra help here and there. So it's a fantastic program.
When I started with Westerville in 2004 as an administrator, I came in the office and my bus driver from elementary school was still driving for Westerville, Mr. Bill. And he saw me in the office and he called me right out, Randy Snyder. And it was just a moment that we remember. I remember my bus drivers from elementary school and middle school and high school and field trips on Friday nights in the marching band. So yeah, it is a personal connection for many of our drivers.
Absolutely. And we just have an incredible transportation team that gets thousands of students to and from school safely every day. Approximately how many students do we transport each day, and how many buses and My Vans are actually out on the road?
So last school year, we ended with 96 school bus routes and 22 My Van routes. We schedule or ultimately offer transportation to approximately 10,000 students. Approximately just north of 6,000 students ride each day on average, but that's twice. So if we just take that simple math, that comes to about 12,000 rides a day. That equates to about 2.1 million rides that our team offers in an entire school year. And the mileage where we travel, including field trips, about just over 2 million miles a year.
That's amazing.
When we put all of that together. But just the sheer numbers of that is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and you think of Westerville just as a 12 square mile radius, and we're going over 2.1 miles.
Yeah, we're the 11th largest school district in the state of Ohio out of over 600 school districts.
Yeah.
And we have an amazing team of drivers and staff that are behind it.
Yeah. So here's a different question for you, but what would surprise people most about operating a transportation department?
How much fun it can be. And it goes back to that personal experience, whether it be our drivers or our office staff and the relationships that they have there. It is very complex. And oftentimes, just like in the airline industry, when there's a weather delay or when there's an unexpected situation, whether it be weather-related or a power outage. Remember a couple of years ago, there was a significant power outage in Westerville, and our team got a phone call from the city of Westerville at about 2:30 in the morning. Said, just to give you an awareness, this is what's happening, we're not sure. And there were members of not just transportation, but the school district who woke up early that morning to start thinking about those things. And yes, they can be stressful and maybe not ideal, but there's also some kind of a strange, almost satisfaction in recognizing some of the unique things that we get to do and how it's the power of people that allow them to happen.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes our mindset, like again, communications, you're going through a situation that you didn't plan for unexpectedly and you get out of it and you're like, that was fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have to do it again, but we got through it and that was fun. So last question, if you could leave families with one piece of advice to help transportation go smoothly during the first week of school or the entire school year, what would it be?
Patience would be key. We recognize that the first few days of school, where we see the real significant delays, are in afternoon transportation. When we bring students into school in the morning, we're getting them to a building. In the afternoon, we're taking them home. And an example that I'll use is when our students are learning where their buses park at a school in the afternoon, or what their bus number is that they're going to board. If we run 10 minutes delayed out of a high school, that's a pretty decent target, recognizing that what we're really attempting to do is to keep students on the correct vehicle so they don't go to the wrong neighborhoods, and then we end up either having to take them back to school or taking them to their correct neighborhood. But take that 10 minutes and the same thing and occur at the middle school. Well, we're already 10 minutes behind at the middle school. Now we add another 10 minutes, and that 10 minutes now compounds down to the elementary school. So yes, our school day ends officially at 3:40, but it's not uncommon for some of our buses not to leave an elementary school until 4 o'clock on those first few days of school, because our staff, our drivers, and when I say staff, that's also the building. They are working to ensure that students board and get where they need to be those first couple of days of school. Because ultimately, there's like this inherent trust. It's almost like an automatic give that our parents and community members place in our transportation services team. Not just our drivers, but our mechanic technicians, our office staff, and even our driver trainers are committing to providing that safe transportation experience for our students, both to and from school every day. And our department last year, in the first 2 weeks of school, fielded over 2,000 incoming phone calls. Every one of those was answered. That doesn't include the outgoing phone calls or the emails or the online inquiries, etc. It is an amazing system and group, not even a system, a group of people that make this happen each and every year. Just the beginning of the year can be a little fun, like we talked about just a minute ago, right? Those fun things that come up. But at the end of the day, when we get home, when we realize we just provided 12,000 rides in a single day.
Yeah. Well, knock on wood, bright blue skies, sun's out on the first week of school, and we have no issues with Mother Nature.
About 10 years ago, we did with a major rainstorm on the first day of school all morning long. That was no fun.
As parents, we don't need the extra stress. So if you're listening, Mother Nature, please be good. So all great advice today, Randy. And we're really excited to start a new school year and getting thousands of students safely to school every day. It, like you heard, takes careful planning, teamwork, and a dedicated group of professionals who begin preparing long before that first bell rings. So thank you, Randy, for joining us today. And thank you to the staff that gets our students out and about.
Thank you as well, Melanie.
All right. We hope this conversation answered some of your questions and helped you feel even more prepared for the start of the school year. Until next time, remember, we are the Ville.